Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. An education specialist is being flown in from North Queensland to investigate nation-lagging results in Tasmanian schools. The state government bowing to calls for a review of our education system, although critics say improved funding is the answer.
In 2024, an alarming number of Tasmanian school leavers are still struggling with fundamental skills.
One school that I spoke to recently had 70% of students at risk when it comes to literacy. They don't have the money to actually ensure these students are able to read before they leave school.
Our state is flunking many key indicators. Now an independent review will look at why.
What will the future look like, say, over the next 10 years for us here in Tasmania? What's happening in our classrooms? Looking at some of the data that we know is an area of concern.
The review will be led by respected educator Vicky Bayliss, looking at unique challenges here and learning from other states.
Ms Bayliss comes to us with 4 decades of experience, and in particular she's worked in the Northern Territory, where we do see some similarities when it comes to socio-economic disadvantage.
The terms of reference are still to be decided. However, recommendations are expected to be handed down by the end of the year. The Education Union, however, says funding is the key. That's despite Tasmania already spending more per student than every jurisdiction except the Northern Territory.
None of the schools in Tasmania are funded correctly. Our teachers and support staff are doing their best with one arm tied behind their back. I'm confident that this review will show that.
But Labor, which called for this review weeks ago, wants it to go far deeper than that.
What can we be doing differently to better support students who are falling behind earlier so that they can get the adequate support they need to catch up? What are we doing to support families to make sure their children can be attending school, be healthy, have a full lunchbox?
There's no cheat sheet to help lift our students to the top of the class. Nick Kelly, 7 Tasmania News.
Well, the Tasmanian Union is warning of possible power outages as TasNetworks employees threaten industrial action, seeking pay parity with mainland workers. They claim some workers are being paid 35 to 50% less than those doing the same job interstate.
They're highly skilled and it's a very dangerous occupation, obviously working with transmission and distribution lines. And our workers think that it's fair and reasonable that they should get paid the same, if not similar, to mainland workers doing exactly the same work.
TasNetworks says negotiators are working hard to reach an agreement and that laws are in place to stop industrial action affecting the reliability of the grid. The legal fight over Hobart's controversial William Crowther statue is over, with a group that was pushing to keep it choosing not to appeal a TasCat decision. It's an end to uncertainty about the monument's future, despite it not currently being on display.
While activists took the fight over Hobart's William Crowther statue into their own hands, the legal battle is now over.
We've made the decision not to appeal to the Supreme Court, although we've got very good legal advice saying that we would win in the Supreme Court.
The group's already spent $40,000 on a lost appeal of the Hobart City Council's decision to remove the statue of William Crowther. In the 19th century, the former Premier notoriously stole a skull from Tasmanian Aboriginal William Lanny, who died from illness and sent it overseas.
He was a significant, popular, well-respected, esteemed figure of Tasmania. Some parts of the community have concentrated on one small aspect which is contested.
The mayors welcomed the end of the legal saga, saying their process was sound.
The process showed us that you can have a very mature and deliberative process to discuss whether a particular statue is really reflective of the truth of our history.
Chop him up like he did to our people!
Perhaps the era of erecting statues is over. I'd much prefer to see more digital displays of history and people and storytelling.
The council's planning to commission a new art project at the site in the next year around Tasmanian Aboriginal heritage or the tale of Crowther and Lanny. As for the statue, it's in storage to potentially go on display again in the future.
And a lot of social history is involved with this statue, so I think TMAG is the ideal place for the statue.
I absolutely adore TMAG, but they do have storage issues.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Now, giant pumpkins are usually reserved for fairy tale transport or winning prizes at garden shows, but one mega squash is destined for the soup kitchen. The whopping donation from a Tasmanian veggie patch is heading to a local charity, helping feed hundreds doing it tough this winter.
You ready?
Yeah. Cinderella, look away. This 65-kilogram monster delivery is making its way from the coach to the kitchen.
We've chosen soup. It's winter, it's cold. There's nothing more hearty and warm on a cold winter's day than pumpkin soup.
Picked from a northeast pumpkin patch, the supersized donation has been handed to Launceston City Mission.
Wow.
Set to feed up to 500 Tasmanians this week.
We serve maybe up to 60 bowls of free soup every day, so to feed 500 with that on one day would be amazing.
What would you do with it? It's too big for any home cook to do anything with, so look, this is a good solution.
A crew of chefs are sharpening their knives and preparing the soup pots, tackling the giant squash one slice at a time.
There's no fairy godmother turning this pumpkin into a fancy coach. We rely on our volunteers.
Kaya and her team have a mammoth task ahead of them. They'll spend the next 2 days chopping up this whopping vegetable before they're ready to serve it to the masses on Wednesday.
We've got our knives sharpened, we've got our chopping boards ready, so I think we're set.
A fairy tale ending for a mammoth vegetable. Victoria Easto, 7 Tasmania News.
A new larger freight plane is now flying into our online shopping capital, Launceston. The Airbus A321 replaces a smaller and less efficient 737, meaning more space for urgent deliveries into the state, but also more opportunities for exports.
At least 5 days a week here. They're 30% larger than the 737s. One of the big bonuses here is that time-sensitive freight is often fresh produce, export produce that needs to get to interstate and even international destinations.
It comes as Launceston Airport continues to break records, almost 100,000 passengers passing through last month, 3% more than pre-pandemic levels. Sue Hickey has been sworn in as Mayor of Glenorchy. The former Hobart Lord Mayor received 55% of the vote at a by-election on Saturday. Says there are several issues she will focus on in her new role.
Clean up the city, make it a lot more tidy and appealing. I also want to deal with some of the crime, and we have a few issues with racism.
The former Speaker of the House of Assembly has served on the Glenorchy City Council for almost 3 years. Justin Stringer has also been sworn in, filling the vacant councillor position. A groundbreaking program is putting unsportsmanlike behaviour on notice in the wake of a spate of unruly fights at junior level. A football coach, firefighter and father of 5 encouraging attitude adjustments starting at the grassroots.
They're the ugly scenes marring junior games. Fights like these are taking over codes, and it starts before teams even run out onto the field.
Continuing to see this unacceptable behaviour that we get, which is allowed by the coaches who control the environment, and it's supported by the parents who yell abuse from the boundary.
But one program is looking to stamp out the trend, learning life through sport turning to the junior levels, promoting a safe and inclusive environment from the start.
There's 3 values: sportsmanship, respect and trying your hardest. An opportunity to learn life values through sport instead of focusing on winning all the time and outcomes.
Also beefing up awareness and protection of umpires and referees.
They're sort of the forgotten people, and we see them as the opposition, and they're not.
Local clubs are already embracing the culture change.
We still want people supporting our teams, encouraging our players. You know, that's the fabric of junior footy. It's a complete attitude change. It's about sportsmanship, it's about respect.
Kicking goals for a positive game day experience. Victoria Easto, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania is defying a national slide in job ads, with listings increasing almost 5.5% in May, while they fell slightly interstate. According to SEEK, the rise is due to growth in healthcare, medical and tourism roles. Tasmania's unemployment rate sits at 4%. More than $1 million is on the table to help bring film and TV production to Tasmania as part of the state government's Island Screen Incentive Program, open from today.
The more productions that come down, the more that we learn and we're able to upskill ourselves as well, so we can help further support those productions.
What we're finding is that the productions that are really kicking goals and being commissioned are the sort of long-running or even short series of dramas.
Minister Madeleine Ogilvie says the funds are expected to bring a tenfold return to local economies. Students from 3 Tasmanian schools have joined forces, entering a nationwide push-up challenge. The fundraiser aiming to increase awareness of the mental health issues affecting everyday Australians, while also providing a little extra physical activity.
Sweating it out, all for a good cause.
We got members of Farn Collegiate and Hutchins, our 2 sister schools, together so we can complete a set of push-ups that go towards our push-up challenge.
The simple exercise holding a deeper meaning.
Knowing that each push-up that we do is a dedication to someone's life who was lost to suicide in Australia in 2022.
Students enjoying the camaraderie.
I haven't been involved in this before, and it was really great to have the chance to do it with other schools as well.
It's really important, and I've really enjoyed seeing everyone come together.
With 4 days left to go in the challenge, the team is leading the nation.
In Australia, our community has done over 526,000 push-ups, which is the most out of any Australian community.
It's brought the students together, it's brought the staff together, and it's brought the 3 communities closer together as well, which I think is really important.
Shattering the original goal of $17,000, the funds going towards a worthy cause.
Goes toward the programs for Lifeline Tasmania, so it can go into training and support, where we have trainers that go out into workplaces, into the community.
With events like this one putting the emphasis on mateship.
They bring our communities, not just as Hutchins, but as the 3 schools, closer together.
To donate, head to the Push Up Challenge website. Lily Thompson, 7 Tasmanian News.
Well, Tasmanian Rowing Club is aiming to make the sport more inclusive and accessible to students, offering learn and row sessions, hoping to spark a wider interest across public schools.
Usually holding the reputation as an exclusive and elite sport. But Sandy Bay Rowing Club is aiming to change its reputation by offering new routes into the sport. Taroona High School students are getting a taste today.
Learning about the different rowing techniques and how you can go in different boats and different competitions.
Getting on the rowing machines and checking out the boats. Searching for talented youngsters who may find themselves perfect for a sport they've never tried.
Pretty exciting actually. I've always been interested in rowing, just the schedule and just how it all works.
The Learn to Row program is aiming to make rowing more inclusive, giving more public school students a sea of opportunity to consider the sport.
We think it's important that kids that haven't had access to the sport, that we really promote it to them and get them involved.
Some of Tasmania's own rowers proving success on the big stage. Sarah Hoare and Kate Hornsey have represented the country at the Olympics.
Often the athletes who make it right down the track to a national team, they're not from a big school with all of the resources.
It's designed to be high intensity and low impact, helping to build strength and endurance, but it's definitely not for the faint-hearted.
You need to be strong, you need to do weights, so you need to be very fit.
An awesome opportunity for our next sporting stars. Rebecca Gaidaneris, 7 Tasmanian News.
Despite playing on a bigger stage, Bernie Docker, Bailey Bogue says his body's feeling better than he would have after an NWFL game, after winning Saturday's interstate match against Queensland.
Probably not as banged up as normal. It's pretty contested back home, and you normally cop a bit more of a beating. But you definitely ran further, and the fatigue factor of the Queensland heat.
Was named one of Tassie's best on ground, winning the first ever The Devil Award. After missing this year's final with the Victoria's Heat, Hurricane signing Charlie Wei Kim has his eyes set on a BBL title. The Tigers' heavy hitter has been playing down here since 2017 and is determined to keep the big scores coming.
When you
next
ride that
summer.
momentum in a short tournament, those are big things for stringing wins together.
Wei Kim knows he won't be able to walk into the Hurricane squad and will need to let his bat do the talking. Wynyard's Kyron Bacon is having a great time in Europe, putting in a huge performance at the Enduro World GP's 4th round in Italy over the weekend. Finishing day 2 in 3rd place in the junior category on his 250cc bike, he heads to Slovakia for round 5 in a fortnight.
Good evening. Hobart 11 degrees today. Launceston and Burnie reached 14, while Devonport's 15 was the high today, also recorded at Friendly Beaches and St Helens. Butler's Gorge our low with -4. Around the state, Strawn, Smith and Low Head and the Islands all 14. Grove 9 today. Lyreweenie a high of 6. Bushy Park a brisk 5 degrees. Low cloud about the northwest with patchy high cloud moving over the state during the day. No rain in any of that. Mid to high level cloud associated with the trough and a cold front is streaming over South Australia into western New South Wales and Victoria. Moisture is driving scattered low level cloud over the north tropical coast and parts of the top end. Now a high pressure zone will be squeezing over the state tomorrow ahead of a very nasty looking low pressure system which will be heading our way later in the week. North to north east winds tomorrow at 15 to 25 knots, but as strong as 30 knots over the west with a 3-metre swell. A strong wind warning has been issued for waters between South East Cape and Stanley. Tuesday for Hobart, a top of 14 and partly cloudy, 13 for Adventure Bay, a possible shower for Tarraleah, 40% chance, 10 the top. Launceston a high of 14 with showers. Showers also for Devonport, 13 the high, and Bridport 4 overnight, 15 tomorrow. Bit of rain about. Burnie showers, maybe some heavy falls, 13 the maximum, 14 for Strawn, a shower or 2 for Marrawar and 13 degrees. St Helens a high of 15 and partly cloudy, same for Swansea and same for White Mark on Flinders Island. On Wednesday, showers on the way for most, just a morning shower in Hobart though. Swansea a cloudy 14 degrees, partly cloudy over the east and southeast on Thursday, a few showers across the rest of the state and windy through Bass Strait, and on Friday showers picking up again, later though over the east coast. Partly cloudy and 18 in Perth, some heavy showers for Adelaide, just 13 the top there. Fine and partly cloudy weather for Melbourne and Canberra, sunny and 19 in Sydney, a possible shower over Brisbane. Bit of cloud over Hobart, it's 8 degrees, 9 in Launceston and bit of cloud too for Devonport and currently 10 degrees. Kim, I'm still recovering from my trip to the Central Highlands and I couldn't believe it. You were very popular up there.
Why are you surprised, Murph? And that is all your news for now. We'll be back later with updates. Thanks for your company. Good night, everyone.